DanDaDan has been wowing viewers week to week with its stellar animation. The hit anime based on the hit manga from Shonen Jump written by Yokonobu Tatsu has been at the forefront of everyone's minds, but what exactly makes DanDaDan look as good as it does? Today we'll take a deeper look at the animators responsible for making DanDaDan as beautiful as it is. Of course, we have to look at the studio behind DanDaDan, which is Science Saru. This anime company starting in 2017 has built up a name for itself in the past 7 years, animating the likes of Devilman Crybaby, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, and now DanDaDan. In charge of series composition for DanDaDan would be Hiroshi Seko, who you primarily know from his work on Attack on Titan, where he was behind the series composition for that as well. Now, what is series composition? Well, the person in charge of series composition is someone who is the main writer of the series. They draft concepts of the series and decide how to pace it along with major events of it. There are times when they meet with the director of the show to go over said changes. We also have to speak on key animators, and at the time of this recording, we are at 9 episodes of DanDaDan. This show has several of them so far. Key animators draw the really important and impactful moments within anime, but they don't complete them. This allows for all of your favorite animes to have their personality bleed through the art, and DanDaDan has several of those moments. Like this incredible shot in DanDaDan episode 2. This set of key animation was done by Momofuji, who lent their efforts on episodes 1 through 4 and episode 6. Okurun has many transformations in this series, but this shot of him channeling that inner power during this scene, how much the power of Turbo Granny slowly manifesting on his body, is perfectly displayed by Momofuji. Or even look at episode 4, where Momo and Okurun had their encounter against Turbo Granny. The shot of them running away from the giant crab, which is a staple in the DanDaDan manga, was also done by Momofuji. This entire sequence shows how fun this series is, how outrageous the scenario is for our main characters, and ultimately the scale of what they're currently up against. As said before with key animators, it's a chance for an animator to get their personality or their style across on a work, and this shows a level of understanding of the source material, while also adding in their own personal flair to it as well, which is a great trait in trying to make an adaptation. And that is the case again in episode 2, where Okurun and Momo are battling against the Flatwoods monster. We have this sequence where Okurun dashes away from Momo and obliterates the leg of the Flatwoods monster. This hurts him in the process but gives Momo a chance to stagger. This wonderful scene was done by Azora. Now, Azora has worked on shows like Mushoku Tensei, Spy Family Season 2, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, and even on Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, all serving as a key animator for those shows. I was actually very fortunate to have seen DanDaDan in the theater. Back in September, a month before the anime came out, movie theaters were doing an event where you could see the first 3 episodes back to back in the theater, which made seeing these scenes in that format that much more impactful. Seeing the usage of different colors was another visually striking thing about DanDaDan. In the first episode, there's this shade of green used when Momo awakens her powers. In episode 2, it's all gray and dark to get across how haunting the Flatwoods monster is, and how detached the characters are from the rest of the world. Episode 4 has a lot of emphasis on the color red, and the director of DanDaDan, Fuga Yamashiro, had this down by design. He'd speak on it by saying, "I also thought about the theme of colors to incorporate. When it's a battle scene with an alien or a ghost, the colors change drastically from everyday life. I assigned different colors to each of the different characters. If it's this alien, it'll be blue. If it's this ghost, it'll be red. When that character appeared, I would flush the screen with their theme colors. Just like on a stage, we would change the stage lights for different characters or get a different spotlight. But I also thought that yokai would have warm colors and aliens would have cold colors. I really tried to incorporate that into the mixing of the subjects." In the manga for DanDaDan, each of the ghosts or aliens had distinct designs for them, but in the anime with the usage of varying colors, it displays the tone and mood for each of the encounters, which is something that helps each individual episode stand out from the last. And speaking of things standing out from the last, none other than episode 7 of the show did this in spades. In the show's most artistic episodes so far, episode 7 wowed audiences alike with the adaptation of the ending of the acrobatic Silky arc. This episode was brought to life by several key animators. Starting with Shaolin, who helped with this cut in episode 7, where Okurun, while carrying Aira, runs away with Momo from acrobatic Silky as she kicks Momo down the corridor. Already with a different color at play for another episode, it's keeping with the trend of making every episode different from each other. Shuto Enomoto is another animator for DanDaDan, actually making his storyboard debut on DanDaDan for episode 7. You may have seen Enomoto's past work on shows like Heavenly Delusion, Banana Fish, or Star Wars Visions. Enomoto was behind very monumental scenes within the episode while helping orchestrate the flow of the entire episode. One of them being Aira mistaking acrobatic Silky as her mother and her dad pulling her away from her. This was especially brutal seeing as acrobatic Silky's hand was only a few inches away from Aira in this instance, but also to drive home how mistaken the both of them were in this scene. This scene coupled with the next one of Silky's hair growing longer as time passes and then her transformation into the acrobatic Silky. What I really appreciate about this episode is how the sorrow was translated to the screen. For anyone having read the manga prior to watching this episode, you know how tragic this chapter was, but to be able to have it finally realized in this fashion in anime form only brought out more of what it was going for. Enomoto would speak on this in an interview with New Type magazine. Enomoto stated that, Acro Silky's memory sequence in episode 7 actually isn't that long in the original manga, so director Fuga Yamashiro expanded it quite a bit by having Acro Silky become the focus of the episode. I drew the storyboard with director Yamashiro's ideas in mind, but to be honest, some of them were quite difficult to work with, and I was worried whether I would be able to complete it or not. Most notably, the scenes that took everyone back were the scenes with Acro Silky running in first person out of her apartment. Enomoto would actually use Blender to make a 3D layout of the storyboard for that exact scene, also taking into account for how Acro Silky's hair would be displayed. As emotional as that scene was, it would culminate in one of the final moments of the episode where Ira runs over to embrace Acro Silky as she's withering away. This wonderful scene was done by Kana Ito, who also worked in this episode as a key animator. Enomoto actually had Kana Ito in mind for that scene, stating that, "I had been thinking about asking Kana Ito to draw out that final scene ever since I was still working on the storyboard. Her original illustration came out so perfectly that revisions weren't even necessary. Acro Silky's hair attacks at the beginning done by Jura, the hair pulling scene done by Genta Ishimori, and the cardiac massage scene done by Kana Okutani were also all amazing." Jason Yao also provided key animation for this episode as well. You may know of Yao's works on shows like Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, and My Hero Academia. His sequence consisted of Okron trying to evade Acro Silky as her hair continues to pursue him, which ends with her kicking him away, leaving Ira vulnerable. Enomoto was very meticulous with how the episode came to be. After all, this is his first opportunity at storyboarding, and he made sure to make it so this episode had to be of the best quality, and it worked. Overwhelmingly positive reaction toward the episode as a whole, with nothing but amazement at episode 7. So much so that even Hideo Kojima praised the episode on Twitter. A lot of young animators being able to animate on this episode or even this series is something incredible. Being able to show the entire world letting DanDaDan be the showcase of their talents is really special. DanDaDan has been taking the world by storm, and the momentum isn't stopping either. Sai and Saru, with the monstrous team they've assembled for this project, is showing how much is paying off for the series and the studio itself. All of these animators and staff deserve a mountain of praise for being able to bring the show to life like this and to take the liberties they were able to take with it. The animation, the opening intro, the voice acting for both the Japanese and English dub. DanDaDan has become a rising star within the fall season for anime. But over to you all, what has been your favorite episode of DanDaDan so far? Let me know in the comments and I'll be seeing you all next time.
This, like that, like this, like this, like that.